Welcome back, guys. Today we are here with the Tier 10 American Destroyer, the Edson. It has been a long time coming for the Edson, or Forrest Sherman class Destroyer in general, but it is here. Um, this is actually a re-recording of what I had to do for the Edson because the previous video, well, problems were found when I found the original recording. So, yeah, this is the first part. The two games of the Edson are old. This is just redone. So, yeah, that's kind of annoying. Anyways, moving on to the Edson. Edson is finally in the game. You've probably going to, at this point, have already have seen, by the time this video comes out, you're already going to have seen the other videos people have made for the ship. Here I am with mine. Because, well, I'm just the Forrest Sherman guy. That's kind of what everyone's here to see me talk about Forrest Sherman. We have the Edson, Forrest Sherman class shore, and it's a museum ship, so definitely a cool ship in real life. What about the Edson, though? The Edson is, well, it's a gunboat destroyer, and it is, I'm going to make this very clear right now, not OP. On paper, this is an OP ship. In practice, it is not an OP ship. This is, so far, what I would say is, out of all the destroyers that have released in the past, I don't know, all the tier 10 destroyers, I should specify, that have released as of recently in the past, like, I don't know, maybe a year or so, this is probably among the hardest ones to play. Like, Gdansk is easier. Bazan is probably also easier, although it really depends on what you do in Bazan. Bazan's probably also easier to farm with. Lucian before the bus might have been just as hard as this ship, but it might have also been easier at the same time. We'll get to that in a second. Trump is definitely easier to exert game influence with, obviously. Vampire 2 is also easier in some ways. So, yeah, Edson is very, very difficult. But again, on paper, it looks like a really broken ship. In practice, yeah, not so much. It's not to say it's a bad ship by any means, but it's just a hard ship. So, and it could use a few tweaks. Now, what about the Edson? Well, the Edson has 4 skills. The Edson has engine boost level 2, has smoke level 2, and it has sonar level 2. I think, yeah, smoke level 2, sonar level 2, speed boost level 2, and 2 DFA ones. So you have the Friesland layout with a little bit more. Forget the DFA. The AA is not going to exist in this ship anyways. You don't have Friesland AA. Moving on to the other skills, though, those are more important. Sonar and smoke is a very strong combination on a destroyer. It usually allows for you to captain test at a very high level. Z52, Z42, even Daring, Vampire 2. Those destroyers, very good at captain testing. So you have that skill layup. And he has speed boost. So, that's pretty nice. The thing about the Edson, though, the Edson's, if you look at the graph, comparing the Edson and the gearing, it is very deceiving. Very, very deceiving. Because on paper, you would think this is the greatest thing known to mankind when it comes to just the graph looking at the guns. Which on paper, the guns are amazing. I mean, let's just go straight to the guns. Let's just get to the straight part of the ship where everyone's here for. You have the fastest reload in the game. You have SAP and HE. You have, when you do all the numbers, you have the highest consistent DPM as a destroyer, and it's not even close. Like, it's like the next closest destroyer is Marceau, and it's like far behind you when it comes to the SAP DPM. Obviously, it has AP, but like the sheer DPM you have is unmatched in SAP. It requires Regolo is required to use rapid reload to match you in SAP DPM. This is just your normal SAP DPM. 76k, something around those lines. Your HE DPM is not bad either. You have basically Harugumo HE DPM, which is pretty respectable HE DPM to have Harugumo HE DPM roughly. Especially for a ship for 3 guns to be matching that. You have 4% fire chance, which is again on paper outrageous fire starting this ship has. And you have the Forrest Sherman 360 turrets. Obviously these are the Austin guns. Now these guns come with the slight nuance. They're, like I said, on paper, these are some of the most amazing guns you ever see, and at first glance you would think this is the most broken ship known to mankind. On the other hand, the ship also has problems with its own guns. One, the sap does not like to penetrate anything. You have severe sap pen issues in this ship, and it's not even funny. Like, it's actually kind of a problem, actually, a good amount of the time, your sap penetration, because there will be times where you'll be shooting destroyers, and the sap does not always full pen. And I mean, like, it's not like a few occasional salvos you don't full pen. Like, there's a consistency when it comes to your not full penning, semi penning against even like destroyers thrown about. Like, it's just not consistent sap pen. Against cruisers, it's an even worse the situation the sap, because unlike Regolo would, you don't have the penetration of the sap. Even without sap plus in Regolo, you just have way less penetration, so your sap just does not do anything to cruisers as much. Like, you can sometimes full pen cruisers, like cruisers, but you get a lot of zeros as well. Against battleships, if you shoot battleship mountain stern, I have done this before in Edson a lot of time. I'm at point blank range shooting at Montana bow and stern, and the sap just refuses to penetrate all the time. It, like, sometimes it does, but sometimes it doesn't. You know, whenever it feels like to pen, you know, that's when the sap decides to work. So when the sap decides to work in Edson, yes, this is a very strong ship. When this, or, well, not Gadan's level, but it's still it becomes a stronger ship. When the sap does not like to work in Edson, well, that's when your problems begin in Edson, because now you're forced to use HE, and when you're forced to use only HE in a gun-only destroyer, well, it has torps, but we'll get to that. Anyway, basically a gun-only destroyer, you kind of run into this problem where it's going to take you forever to kill things. Because you just simply don't have anything else to do damage with, effectively. So, and you're losing out on so much DPM because you can't use your sap, so you just turn into hard mode that has to shoot HE only. Or guns only with HE. Like, it's kind of a yikes sometimes. Second part with the guns. The dispersion is horrid. And I mean horrendous. I don't think I've ever played a tier 10 destroyer with worse dispersion in my life. The only reason you may not notice the dispersion again when you're facing an Edson is because the Edson is shooting so fast. On the other end of the Edson, you're going to be noticing the dispersion, especially without this camo. You're going to be noticing the dispersion problems. And DDs can't run dispersion mod. So that kind of like further encapsulates your dispersion problems, because you literally cannot fix your dispersion problems out, you know, directly with the module. So you're kind of like just hoping that you hit something with your reload, which sometimes your reload is really carrying this shit, because if it didn't have this level of DPM, this would be a pretty big tragedy. And yeah, so yeah, the guns are OP on paper, not so OP in practice. Let me just put it that way. As for the, look at that, now that they got the guns out of the way, to the agility of the ship. The ship has, okay, the ship's agility is it's a bit trollish in its statistics, because you are among the slowest shores in tier 10. I think only Trump might be slower than you. I could be wrong. I don't remember exactly, but I think Trump could be slower than you. Might be the slowest destroyer, but you're not doing much better than the Trump stock. You're not doing much better. 33 knots base is kind of a tragedy. You have the daring problem on steroids. Now luckily you can alleviate the daring problem because you have the speed boost too. So that is kind of help, but you only have 2 speed boosts too, so you don't even have like so it's kind of like Lucian where you kind of have to like be smart with your speed boosts. And then even then you're still slower than Lucian. So, now unlike Lucian, the big benefit of Edson is that the Edson has an amazing acceleration. Not relative to speed, max speed, it has some of the best acceleration in the game. It's actually better than Daring acceleration. It's insane acceleration on the Edson. It just, when the ship stops, you don't even notice it stops because that's how fast the ship is deaccelerating. Now, this is really good for when you're kiting. Now, Edson isn't what I would call a small destroyer, though. This is not Daring. This isn't Gearing. It's definitely not Yu Yang. So, the acceleration is really, really good because you are not a very small destroyer. I thought it would be a little bigger in game, though, to be fair. I thought it would be a much larger destroyer, but it's actually not. I'm surprised. Well, it's actually kind of a good thing it's not that large because this shit would be absolutely horrendous to play if it was large. The turning, it's actually not bad. You actually have better max reverse speed than a Gearing. Do not ask me how they got away with that. The turn time, though, is worse than Gearing, obviously. So, besides your max speed, acceleration's actually, and the maneuverability is in general, it's just actually really not that bad. It's really good, pretty good. I would say it's pretty good maneuverability, but your max speed is kind of holding you back. If you saw the Speed Build Kleber video from last time, well, if you go to playing this ship next, you're gonna feel like you're playing the Vermont, basically, when it comes to your max speed as a destroyer. So, just keep that in mind. Your HP, it does have the 6% damage reduction of the Gearing, which is nice, so you take a little bit less damage from destroyers. And obviously you get 23k HP. I mean, it's a lot. It's, Sherman on PC has a pretty good amount of HP, so I was expecting to have this thing to have a decent HP pool on its own, and that's what it has. It has a decent HP pool. 23k HP. You really need this HP pool to last because you're a slow destroyer. So if you get caught out lacking, it's kind of Joever. Like, you can't really save yourself this shit because, well, Torps. Speaking of Torps, let's get to the Torps. The Torps they're funny. They're funny, not because the Torps themselves are funny, but because of the bug that comes with Torps. The Torps are in-game showing as deep water torpedoes. Those aren't deep waters. You have normal torpedoes that hit destroyers. That's a visual bug on both ends. So the destroyers can think that's a deep water torp. They can see it. So I've seen people have been saying this consistently about the Edson when they face it, saying it has deep waters. So they know they can. So everyone can see it. The problem is those aren't deep waters. The destroyers can get hit by those torps. So it's pretty funny when a destroyer runs into your 1 in 1 million chance of torps. Speaking of the torps, actually getting to them. These are Somers torps. These aren't Gearing torps like BC. Yeah, they're just copy pasted Somers torps. The angles, I'm gonna probably post the image here. Horrid. You may as well not even be using these torps. At most, you get to use like maybe a full set of torps, like maybe once every couple games. Like, and even then, it's only 4 torps. So it's just not reliable. So you may as well forget about your torps. You kind of just shoot them out. They have good range, so you kind of just shoot them out early in the game and hope something hits. You forget about them later in the game, and you probably will forget about them for the rest of the game. So your torps, they may as well not exist. I already said the AA, it's useless. Don't even bother with the AA. With DFA, you have like Druid AA. That's not really saying much. So your AA is not really useful. Actually, I think it's worse than Druid AA, so don't even... Yeah, no. Just the AA is not good. The AA is not good. Your concealment is the Z52 concealment. Rest in peace, my Z52 players. Your concealment is no longer special in this game. So your concealment's okay. Still better than Gross Voice, so that's all that matters. we can all laugh here at Gross Voice. So again, relative to its concealment, you would think the ship with 76k plus SAV DPM would be insanely OP, but it's not. So, Edson moment. In case you're wondering what my build is on this ship, my build on this ship is reload mod, acceleration, concealment, standard destroyer stuff. The elite bonus is going to be elite gun operator. You could if you wanted to, for the sake of it, run the advanced HE show. I wouldn't recommend it because the reload is kind of like your whole gimmick. And if they do end up buffing the ship, like I hope they do in the future with its sap and its dispersion, then, well, you're going to be using a lot more sap. So the HE doesn't really make sense anymore. So I'd recommend just run the reload, just full DP. Also, if you get a Kraken skill going, which I'm going to get to Commander in a second, if you get the full Kraken skill going, you basically just maximize the DPM anyways. So I don't see a reason why not. And, you know, whatever DPM you can get to help with your horror dispersion is going to help. Because the advanced HE literally means nothing if you cannot hit anything. So, yeah. On to the commander build. I am running William Sims currently. I've been running him for a decent amount of time. I was running Halsey before, for those curious. I think I'll put both the builds up there. The main difference is that with Halsey, you're playing the gambit that you're not gonna be, you're gonna be low. You're just gonna be farming when low, which does help. You'd be surprised how much it actually helps on the destroyer. Usually I don't take AR plus on a destroyer with smoke. I didn't do it with Bazan. But this ship only had 2 smokes, so I was like, we could probably get away with it for a bit. To be quite honest, save your Halsey on a cruiser or on a battleship if you have him there. Just use Sims, honestly. Sims is just, he works perfectly fine on the ship, unless you like playing your gearing. Which then, yeah. Luckily, Edson's a premium, so you can move Sims already, so, I will be probably moving my, if I get it to my main account, I'm probably moving just my Black Benson commander. Because, well, the IFHE doesn't really do anything for you on the Sims. On Sims, not on the Sims. On Sims, because, well, IFHE kind of sucks on the small caliber destroyers. So, yeah, that's probably what I'll be doing. If you notice, I'm running artillery maintenance expert. The reason for that is I need to maximize my dispersion. And I'm going to get to that in the camo. I'm maximizing dispersion because this dispersion is trash, like I said. It is tragic. So, speaking of dispersion, the camos. Now, the historical camo is... yeah, it exists. Nice. It's about what I expected from the historical camo of the ship. Based off of PC Sherman. Now, speaking of Sherman, this in the game says 931 on the bow. You notice that? 931 is for Sherman. That is not the Edson. This is not the Edson's number. So hopefully they fix that visually because that's just the incorrect number. What this could mean though is, you know, maybe we get Forrest Sherman in the future. You know, I'm not gonna say no to another Forrest Sherman class destroyer. Maybe a little better than this one. You know, I'm just, you know, I'm not gonna complain. You know, that's all I'm gonna say. But yeah, historical camo gives you battery firing range, torpedo range, extra wrist speed, and concealment. The standard ones. The other camo, which looks way better than historical camo. As much as I love the way the Forrest Sherman looks, the other camo looks way better. Yeah, unfortunately, it technically gives you worse stats, technically speaking. It doesn't. Ship HP, main battery gun range, shell dispersion, torque range. We're mostly here for the shell dispersion because if you stack that with artillery maintenance expert, you get about as close as humanly possible to a dispersion mod on a destroyer. I mean, you could also run the HE camo, but like, who's gonna run HE camo? So this is about as good as the dispersion is going to get on the Edson, unless you run the HE camo. This is about as good as it's going to possibly get on the Edson. And it does make a noticeable difference when you're obviously on artillery maintenance expert levels. You really do notice the dispersion improving. I tried without the camo, and But now with this camo, it's kind of annoying to play this ship even more so than it already is. So this camo, now it just look better. It's also just arguably a better camo. But I do, kind of sucks that you lose concealment, because now you just don't get the ability to jump destroyers as easily. So I kind of wish they swapped out torp range on the bonus for concealment. Can we do that, Wargaming, please? Because losing concealment is never a good thing on the shores. Unless you're gonna go 50 knots, but this ship doesn't go 50 knots, so that's not really a good trade-off. So yeah, what do I think about the Edson? Edson is a good but a hard destroyer. Like, you can exert game influence in Edson, but you have to really be trying in Edson. Like, this is not a casual destroyer to play. When it comes to just like, oh, I'm just gonna play Edson, easy 100k, like, Bazan or Gdansk, I'm not gonna go spot the enemy for free like the Trump. No, no, no. Edson is, you gotta be thinking in Edson the whole time about what you are doing, because the ship is not very easy to play. It is on the harder end of tier 10 destroyers, because the nuances with the guns kind of prevents you from doing a lot of things that you would think the ship would be really good at. And because you are a slow, lumbering gun destroyer with like no torp power, basically, even Tron has more torp power than you, to be quite honest with you, means that you are also very vulnerable to getting run down by gumbo destroyers, like what I just mentioned. Bazan, Gdansk, Kleber, Regolo, like Z42 is gonna start clapping you. Like, it's kind of a tragedy when it comes to facing the big gumbo destroyers like that. So against smaller destroyers, you're just fine. I mean, you have amazing DPM. The problem is that once you reach the bigger DDs, you don't pen as much. You already don't pen much the small destroyers, let alone the big destroyers. And the pen problems really become noticeable against the big DDs, because your SAB DPM, it should be nuke, it should be annihilating them or keeping up with their DPM. It just cannot. It simply just cannot. So yeah. Personally, the way I describe Edson, at least myself, from me playing it a good amount, is the Edson is like original Lucian. If you've seen my original Lucian, I still need to make an update video on the Lucian video. If you've seen my original Lucian review from a while ago, from a few months ago, it's kind of like that, but a bit harder than that at the same time. Because you kind of have the Lucian issue where it takes you a good amount of time to kill things, especially battleships. It takes you a good amount of time to kill battleships. And it's a little better to farming battleships with just guns, but unlike Lucian, you don't get torps. Well, torps that, like, Lucian already had pretty mediocre torps last time. You just have no torps in there, basically. So your situation's even worse. But like I said, luckily you have better DPM than Lucian's HE, so your HE DPM actually does something in your battleships. So it's a hard ship, I'm gonna be honest. Anyone who says, this is just tier 10 Friesland, I mean, it's another I mean, sure, the only reason it's an HE spammer, though, realistically speaking, is because the ship has problems. Because the ship's literally lacking the sap pen, and it's lacking dispersion. Look, to be honest, if they fix the dispersion and buff the sap pen by like 10%, I would literally just say, just shoot sap and just farm away. Don't even think about the HE, unless you shoot EGK. I genuinely would say that. The problem is that the sap kind of sucks. Kind of sucks, and the dispersion doesn't help your case. So you're kind of just evidently forced to shoot HE, which is not what I was hoping for from this ship. I was hoping for a more sap focused, not alpha based, just pure DPM focused, less fire starting focused ship. Because I already have played plenty of the HE spammers in my day and day of destroyers, so I was hoping for something a little bit different. But yeah, it's the Edson. Curious to think what everyone else is thinking, and yeah, I will show my stats real quick. It's not my best work. It's a very hard short to get good statistics in, because you really need to be putting in some serious amount of work to get average in the ship. Like it was certainly a good amount of work. It's not. Do I think it's fun? I'm just gonna point it. I should probably mention if it's fun, because I'm making it sound like it's the most boring destroyer known to mankind. I had some fun in Edson. Is it the most enjoyable destroyer I've played in Tier 10? No, not really. But it's not like Bazan, where I really thoroughly enjoyed Bazan. Even Tromp was more enjoyable. But Edson is kind of like OG Lucian to me. I like it because it's a little more difficult. Granted, if they fixed the problems, the ship wouldn't be as difficult, but it would still be somewhat difficult. And it's a Forrest Sherman class of shore. I just love the Forrest Sherman class of shores in general. I should really visit Edson in real life, because it is still a museum ship in Michigan. You can actually visit it if you ever go to Michigan. It's in Bay City, I believe. So I would really love to. I just love Forrest Sherman. It's a beautiful class of destroyers, and hopefully they release normal Forrest Sherman in the future itself. So, yep. I'll bring you guys back onto the gameplay from older recordings of this, and yeah, get to the gameplay. Schlieffen, Montana, very nice, juicy battleships. I don't remember if this one is with Halsey or with Sims, so I guess we're gonna see. But as you can see, I'm just using the shark attack camo because it gives dispersion. As you can see, full 360 turrets. The gun angles actually are pretty good, to be honest with you. The 360 turrets. So by the way, we need to mention that. I need to mention this. Those are not deep waters. This ship doesn't have deep waters. It's a visual bug. For both ends. So yeah, DDs are actually gonna do. Some DDs actually thought those were deep waters, and they just kind of went into them. So yeah, nice visual bug with this ship. Yeah, also you can see the torpedo angles are horrendous. So these torps don't maze would not exist. So we're just going on the flank. We're not fast. We kind of have to go on the flank, because if we go mid, well, I mean, what are we gonna do mid? Like, we're in Edson. We have no radar to bring to the table. Like, we can't really bouncing on the rock. Going mid is just not the best idea in Edson. So I'm just gonna kind of see here and wait for something to happen. I'm gonna load HE. I would love to keep a SAB loaded, like as a Regolo, but we don't have the pen or the dispersion to keep up with that. So we're just gonna smoke up. This is with Sims, and it's gonna be hard to hear me because they're gonna be hearing a lot of shells in the air. Yeah, when you play the ship, you're pretty much gonna get carpal tunnel from playing the ship, because you're gonna be shooting the guns a lot. I'm just gonna let this play for a bit, just so you bear witness to the HE DPM. Also, as you can see, well, even when I'm farming a battleship, the dispersion is still kind of suspect. I'm like actually missing this battleship like a good amount. Like, and it's not just my horrendous aiming. I don't remember if this guy hits me or not. He clips me, but yeah. He just kind of runs away. We'll get back to that guy in a bit. But 127 shell hits, 31k damage. Now we just start farming the Schlieffen, and there's a Minotaur. Like I said, I would love to load SAP, but the SAP kind of sucks on this ship pen-wise, so I'm pretty sure I don't even pen Minotaur this range with SAP, which is kind of a tragedy. And well, besides my horrendous aiming, this is some pretty bad dispersion. You can just kind of see we're using the speed boost just to escape, because again, we're slow without speed boost, so we kind of rely on it to escape these kind of situations. We got a fire here and there. 4%. It's still 4% fire chance. You cannot sleep on 4% fire chance. The agility is kind of saving us here because the ship is just, you know, it's a pretty agile ship, relatively speaking, besides its max speed. I mean, everyone is shooting at us at this point. We have a Schlieffen. Okay, from a damage perspective, this is probably the best it's going to get because we have a Schlieffen and a Montana on our flank who are oblivious, who are just focusing us. Or focusing me. So I'm just going to smoke up and we just start farming the Schlieffen. Just absolutely start farming this man with HE. Is it as brutal as Friesland? No, because you're not going to get into a tier 8 game with this ship. So you don't have this level of like HE spam horrendousness at tier 8, so tier 8 is spared for another time. But at tier 10, this is going to be a nuisance to face if you're in a battleship, because I mean, look at this. We're just going to sit here and we're just going to pepper. Now, granted, these are some pretty dumb battleships, but we're just going to sit here and just pepper these battleships, just absolutely pepper them. Now, we kind of have the Lucian problem where it takes us kind of wild to kill battleships if you don't get fires. Not like a dance with the HE, just kind of cripples them immediately. So yeah. Okay, I actually had to lower the volume of the game, or the not the game, the recording, because it was otherwise hard to hear what I'm saying right now. It might still be hard to hear me in the recording and the after editing of this, so I do apologize if that is the case. It's just, you know, when you're playing something like Edson, this is kind of what you're going to have to deal with. You're just going to have to deal with an amazing amount of sound. Now, unfortunately, this is kind of why I wish I was Lucian instead in this game, is because if I was Lucian, this Montana would already have died. I could have pushed the other battleships, and then I would have had no problem this game. It could have been a very amazing damage farming game. Edson, yeah, it kind of takes its time to kill things. Again, I wish I could use SAP, but the SAP pen and the dispersion do not cooperate, so you're kind of forced to use HE in a lot of these situations. I mean, the ship's great at kiting because, well, most of the guns are in the back, and we have all 360 turrets, and we have speed boost and smoke. Also, there's an RP model, or it's not an RP model, it's Island. Well, I think we hit the RP model later. But, you know, I'm just trying my best to dodge and weave. And this guy's just, yeah. It took us a while to kill this Montana. Like, it took us a serious amount of time to kill a battleship. It doesn't even have the most HP in the game, and it doesn't have improved healing. So this is just a pure damage farming game. We killed him eventually, but, you know, like I said, it takes us a while. There's a Horogumo. I'm just gonna use the sonar for the first time. It's gonna be using the sonar. But the dispersion is just, yeah. The sap, when it full pens, it does good damage, almost 500 damage to sap. It's nothing to sleep on. The problem is that, you know, you don't always get 500 damage. And we do end up losing this game because we can't kill the Schlieffen, and I think our Solmer or something dies or later in this game, so yeah. That's just kind of how it is. And there's also a full HP poison. Once again, if I was in the Lucian, this would have been a better game because I could have killed them once I had it faster, and I could have got to the full HP untouched poison in this game. It's kind of a tragedy. If I was in basically any other HP, if I was in Horogumo, if I was in Lucian, if I was even Black Shimakaze, this would have been a better game. Like, this is just not an optimal game. I'm going to shoot a little bit of sap at the end of this game in this Mergolo. Yeah, as you can see, my aim combined with the ship's dispersion, it's not really helping my case. Yeah. Again, it does full, like when it does full pen, it's a good damage, but it's by no means getting enough damage. So that's probably my best recorded game on the Edson. Yeah, I MVP'd on a loss. That's kind of says everything with my team in that game. So yeah, that's just kind of how it works in Edson. Yeah, most HE damage, 22k fire damage, so yeah. And here we are with the second game. It is going to be in Okinawa. Pretty nice map, Okinawa, cannot lie. Pretty good map, generally speaking. Nothing really to hate on it. Kind of unfortunate the way this game plays out. This is not a win as well. I'm just going to point that out. Kind of unfortunate that both of these games that I've recorded were not wins. I wouldn't call this the best short for wins. I want to be upfront with that. Once again, we're shooting the fake deep water torps. That is a really, like, bad visual bug that needs to be fixed. Not that the ship's torps do good damage, because, I mean, these aren't insane torps either, luckily, but these are some pretty bad visual bug. We unfortunately get spotted by the CV. Nothing we can do about it. We get targeted. There's a Shima pushing into the C cap. Unfortunately, the GK is running. This guy tries to take a pot shot at me, but I don't even know why he takes a pot shot at me and not the Vermont, though. I see the Shimakaze though. Use the sonar because sonar 2 is a clutch skill. And we just start peppering this guy. He tries to take this gunfight, which, you know what, fair enough. He actually tried to use his guns, but, I just got a lot of no-regs and a lot of misses. It's a bounce, 2 semi-pens, like, I don't know. This, some suspect sat pen on the Edson, some pretty suspect sat pen. So I'm gonna try to get as close as possible to the island. He's going the other way around, so I can just full send the other side. I'm looking at the minimap this time, and I'm like, what? The battleships are pushing into B? They usually push down into this side, which is kind of unfortunate that they're not today. So I'm just gonna use this P boost to get as fast as possible to the Shima to kill this guy, because this guy has gotta go in Shima. He's a pretty annoying thing to deal with if I don't kill him fast enough, so I may as well kill him now to get him out the way. It's semi-pens again? Like, come on, man. That's just not what I want. Like, a ricochet with sap. Like, it's just... On paper, the sap DPM is amazing. In practice, it's a bit suspect. Another ricochet, a semi-pen. More semi-pens. We're hitting the stern. We're not even hitting the boat. We're hitting the stern of the destroyer, right? So, yeah, the sap pen is a bit of a... Dispersion is, again, another problem. Again, when it full pens, the sap does work when it full pens, but it takes a bit to kill a destroyer sometimes. So now at this point, I'm just gonna try to relocate to the battleship, not this Colombo, but the other, the other battleships around. I see the Mr. Malta, and you're gonna be able to see this amazing, fantastic, non-existent AA. Yeah, can we please get more AA ships as destroyers? Wargaming, I'd really appreciate it. It's not fair that the only Cold War destroyers that can get AA are European, not American. So we're just gonna start unleashing our DPM onto this Malta. Had to lower the volume a bit because I was just so I can clarify what I was saying, so I'm not getting hurt over by just the reload of this ship. I thought this Puerto Rico was gonna look at me. He doesn't look at me for a while. It takes him a good amount of time to realize I'm even here. So after peppering the Malta for a bit, now we're peppering this Puerto Rico, which he's just kind of ignoring me for a good amount of time, which is kind of shocking. You'd think that he would pay attention to the Edson. I probably should have started turning into this guy earlier, knowing after I realized that he wasn't paying attention to me, so I can at least get behind his guns, but yeah, that didn't end up happening, so. He just starts looking at me now. What I should have done is that I should have kept on pushing this guy, this is kind of a mistake on my part, is I decided to turn. I had no idea why I decided to turn. No, I should have just kept rushing this guy. Don't do what I'm doing here. This is a mistake, looking back on it, just turning out. This is not what I should have done. I should have kept on going inwards and get around his guns. Because now I'm just going to be in radar range and it doesn't even matter. So I'm trying to use the sap, but it's struggling, man. The sap is struggling. It's having a bad day. This Malta is still trying to draw me. Thank goodness this multiplayer is actually trash at this game. I'm still ricocheting off this man's stern, which is concerning. So he's dead. That was probably the best showcase of sap you're going to get, besides me shooting the Shimakaze. So now it's just a matter of survival from the Malta, which is easier said than done when you have a ship that has, well, no heals and no DFAs, but not that it matters because, well, your AA sucks in the shrimp in the Edson. So at this point, this is where I actually wish I had Halsey, because if I had Halsey, at least I would have a better DPM while I was low like this with no heals. So you can kind of see what the Halsey argument is, but at the same time, Sims is still pretty good. Luckily, Edson has loads of gun range, so HE spamming is not very hard in this ship when it comes to just the amount of range you have for free. This Malta is still trying to drop me. He's struggling, man. This ship's pretty agile, so dodging CV drops is not the worst thing in the world. It's just kind of the bombers you can't really stop, which is, yeah, no, then it's kind of rest in peace. I'm trying my best to do as much damage as possible to this GK, but he's eventually leaving my range, and I would normally push out here, but this Malta was hunting me. He was hunting me, so I was gonna stay in my smoke until he got to this Vermont, because I knew for a fact that this man was gonna be waiting for me the moment I get out of this smoke screen. So I was just kind of buying my time, hoping he would get distracted by this Vermont, which he does, luckily. We've only shot 6 multiplanes down. Really cool AA. Late 1950s destroyer that has no AA. This is an amazing discovery we've made. Anyways, moving on. So I'm just gonna continue farming this GK. Just we're just gonna chill here. This Malta is trying as hard as to drop me, but it's gonna be futile because I mean, when we have this acceleration, it's kind of outrageous. So yeah, dodge that. Oh, that was from mine anyways, but we're just slowly peppering this man to death. Slowly. Malta is still horribly missing. GK is also now missing. Now, range is going to be kind of difficult to hit the ship when it's actively dodging like this. Because, again, it is really good acceleration, and the turning is not bad. But, the ship's just not going to be having enough in it to win it. So, yeah. And that's the game. We lost 90k. Almost. So that's the Edson. Kind of a disappointment from what I was expecting from a Forrest Sherman class ashore. I was really hoping for more. And if they do plan to release Forrest Sherman, I hope it is really, really good compared to this, because this is, again, it's not really the best showcase off the class. Like I said, I'm glad it's here. I really am. And I hopefully they buff it in the future. That's not to the maybe extent of Lucian, but or the Calibir. But hopefully they do buff it eventually. This video's been going on for a long, long time already. It's been going on for some time now. So I'm going to end it here. If you enjoyed this video, go check out the other ones. I plan to make more videos. I have a few DDs I have planned already, so looking forward to that. But this is the Edson review. I'll be seeing you guys later.